Hey guys, Iron Wolf here. Today I'll be making a video talking about the Kokiri. It's been a little while since I made a video talking about this faction. For those of you that don't know, this is probably the best faction in the game. That is when Saria is their hero. However, due to recent developments in rule sets and things like that, in a lot of situations Saria is actually unavailable because a lot of players, for example, in the War of Twilight, you can ban a hero. When you are set up like for a match with your opponent. A lot of people have been banning Saria, and a lot of people in the multiplayer lobbies don't really play her because she's kind of socially tabooed because of how strong she makes a Kokiri. So because of that, how do you play the Kokiri without Saria? That's a good question. There's not a lot of Kokiri players that play the Kokiri outside of abusing the strengths of Saria. A lot of people that played the Kokiri before were really only playing them for the fact that they had access to Saria. But today I'll be making a video talking about some of the things that makes them good without this this really strong character. So the strategy I'm doing in particular today is a variation of the original strategy, the original build order that you do with Saria. However, some of the things that are different in this build is we are, for one, delaying our tech, two, focusing more on massing Minutemen and Slingers as opposed to Deku Trees and Slingers because we don't have access to them. So, because we are lacking in Deku Trees, we're just going to try to replace those with a bunch of Minutemen. It's not as effective, but it's still good. Also, our hero of choice that we'll be going with, if you couldn't already tell, is actually Fado. Now, I talked to Feldfeld about this. He's one of the really good Zero ID players, and he was saying, yeah, so without Saria, in my opinion, I don't think that it matters who the Kokiri pick, because the Kokiri heroes besides Saria don't really change anything and affect anything. And I thought to myself, what, you know, that's pretty true because the Kokiri's game plan doesn't really change that much, and their heroes don't really create too much of an impact. I prefer to actually go with Fado, and I'll explain why. So, a part of why I prefer to go with Fado over Meroria or Gully is because of his speed buff. Now, of course, this isn't amazing. It is a 25% speed boost to all units, just anything that's within his aura. But that's it. It would seem a little lackluster, but actually, I find it pretty useful. It's not I mean, it's not like game breaking or anything. Like, you can do this exact same build and replace Fado with, say, like Meroria or Gully, and it'll be just as effective. It's just for my personal preference, I like to use Fado because he gives a nice speed boost and it makes my army of Minutemen and excuse me, Slingers very speedy, very nimble. It's a very evasive and quick army. And his special unit too, the Fiddler, you can even throw some of those in there, and their abilities stack. So if you had a Fiddler along with Fado within your formation, then the units within their aura would have a 35% speed boost, which is really good. That's very good. Or, I'm sorry, my math's probably off, but the Fiddler gives a 10% speed boost, and Fado gives 25%. So it's very good if you want to have a very highly mobile army. You can even like have your Minutemen and Slinger be almost as fast as some of the cavalry in the game. It's insane. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get into it. Right off the bat here, we're sending our workers onto the food here, our Minutemen onto the wood, and instead of scouting, we're actually going to have our Explorer go and kite these sand seals into our base. Building 6 Kokiri right off the bat, and these are going to go onto the berries. Now the first Kokiri to drop off their food, just like in the previous video, or previous strategy guide about the Kokiri, you're going to take him off, and he's going to build a market grove right here. Now I like to have my Minutemen help out, so it speeds this up. It's completely up to you what you want to do, but also something you should keep in mind with this strategy, let me go ahead and pause. You're going to have to micromanage when you get your upgrades on your community grove a little bit carefully, because you have to get the community homes upgrade on your community grove. That's like a given. But with this strategy in particular, I'm going for a shrine as well. So you're going to have to figure out when a good time to start producing the shrine and the public hangings. You pretty much always need public hangings when going with Kokiri. So when a good rule of thumb for training your first community homes upgrade or whatever, is when the 6 Kokiri right here, once they reach the 10 seconds, like 10 seconds left, I go ahead and queue it up. Because once this is finished building, this applies to all buildings for some reason. When the buildings are done upgrading, any units that were in the queue or being trained will immediately be taken out of the queue. So that's really unfortunate. So you gotta like keep an eye on this. But you need to have for sure public hangings, for sure community homes, and for this one I'm going for a shrine, and I'll show you why later. So you see there, those first 6 Kokiri coming out. Kiting the sand seal into my base. We're gonna start gathering from him a lot. We're gonna need a lot of food with this build. So this first market grove goes up. We're gonna upgrade it into a storehouse. So after you get the community homes upgrade, you're gonna want to try and queue up 3 Kokiri laborers. See here, the sand seals right next to our base. It's a perfect location right there. Scout's gonna go get some more. Getting the second market grove up though. These 3 are gonna go onto the wood right here, because at this point you need to start getting a lot of material so you can start working towards your battle grove. You see here? Okay, so as soon as the storehouse goes up, you're gonna want to get the I forget what it's called, the plant forestation. That's what it is. The wood cutting upgrade for the Kokiri. You're gonna need this because it will really boost your material like economy. Like you can get so much wood with this upgrade. Like it's crazy how much wood these workers bring in. All right, so you see here, I'm building groups of 3 here. I've got 6 Kokiri laborers on my wood right here, building another one. And you see here, I kind of snuck in that shrine between producing a couple of those Kokiri, so that's really good. So I got that out of the way. As soon as the second market grove gets put down, you're going to turn it into community homes and then immediately build a third one. And as soon as you finish getting that wood upgrade as well with the first one, you're going to want to get community homes after it. Now this is what I mean when I said earlier that there's a lot of stuff going on in this build. Now this brief play I'm showing you isn't like the most optimal version of this build, and what I mean by like this strategy is optimal, but like the way I'm playing it, like I'm not playing this like high APM, super micro crazy like I would in a super serious environment. Like I'm playing against the AI, I'm kind of slowing it down a little bit just so I can show you guys what's going on. But yes, there are a lot of things happening at once in this build, so your micro has to be a little on point, which is just generally the case with this faction. But you see here, you gotta have your scout constantly bringing in these sand seals, always have buildings being produced if resources allow. You're gonna want to get 9 Kokiri. You're probably gonna get like between 9 to 12 on the wood here before you start getting anything else. But also at this point, after you've queued up or started building this third market grove, then you want to start building some bushes. You don't want to do this before because then it makes it to where you can't get this up as early as you need it. And if you do it a little too after, then you won't be able to get your battle grove up early enough. You see here, as soon as we get that, we're turning it into the community homes. But you see here, as soon as we get around 13-ish, a little more, a little less, it's completely up to you, workers on the wood, we're actually going to queue up some Minutemen, and these Minutemen are going to start harvesting from these sand seals. The reason we get Minutemen this early instead of laborers is because we're going to need a little bit of defense to watch out for this this build, because with this build, since you're delaying the tech, you won't be able to get access to towers as early, so you won't have to you won't have towers on your wood lines and stuff, so you need a good bit of units. But you see here, as soon as we get 350 resources after building all these, we're going to immediately queue up a battle grove. And then once you get the battle grove up, you're going to start producing some slingshotters from the battle grove. You're just going to want to constantly be producing slingshotters and Minutemen with this build, like non-stop. But you see here, we got some of these first Minutemen out. They're going onto these sand seals to start getting in food. Now at this point, I'm building a couple Kokiri laborers, and these ones are actually going to go on the ore. Now, because you're heavily focused on Minutemen with this build, as opposed to Decatrees with the last one, you're going to need a lot more ore. So we're going to have these workers go on the ore, and we're going to start building units onto that as well soon. See here, that first group of slingshotters came out. We're going to try to either get a couple more or, go for community homes soon, because you're going to struggle, if you aren't paying attention, you're going to struggle with capping yourself out a lot with this build because of how many units you're going to be producing. You see here, getting some more out. And at this point too, after you've gotten, some of the slingshotters out, you've got, definitely after you've gotten this battle grove up, you're gonna want to get an expansion over on this wood line or this one over here, or just wherever your next wood line needs to be. Make sure you have a lot of units over here as well. As you see, I've got some Minutemen and some Slingshotters. I also have been slowly producing Minutemen from these market groves. Now you need to keep this in mind. Let me pause so I can talk without things getting in the way. But with this build, not only are you going to be producing Minutemen from your town center, you're also going to be trying to build a lot of Minutemen from your market groves. And the reason for this being, once you have community homes, it gives you access to the Minutemen. So you can just start pumping them out from there. You can get a lot of Minutemen out really fast, actually. So you're going to want to get some out. As you see here, I got some more out. Sent them on that sand seal, some on the Cocos, but I'm still producing some more laborers. These laborers are all going to be going onto the ore. Yeah, you see, after I get a couple of these Slingshotters up, I want to get that community homes on here because I'm starting to get close to my population cap. But as soon as you get this forward line or expansion, whatever you want to call it, as soon as you get it up, you definitely want to try and get community homes as soon as possible. But yeah, you see here, just constantly producing Minutemen. You see you got some more down here. So just be producing Minutemen constantly from your town center and your community homes, and always make sure that you're either getting an upgrade or building Slingshotters from your Battle Grove. But you see here at this point in the game, we're getting a little close to population. We're only 20, okay, so we're 20 behind, but that 20 is going to fill up really fast. So you see here, I'm taking some of these workers off the wood here to build a Market Grove, another Battle Grove, and then another Market Grove. This is pretty good, because as you see here, we're building kind of like a pseudo wall right here. Not only are we doing that, but we're also building an expansion and another Battle Grove from which we can train more Slingshotters, which is really handy. And you're going to want to turn all these into community homes. What you see here, still producing Minutemen from our market groves and community homes and our town center as well. You can send them on whatever resources you're lacking. Honestly, because you're going to have so many of them, in some situations you probably won't even know what to do with them. So I'm sending them on the sand seals in a lot of situations. And later I send them on the ore and stuff. You see here. Getting Slingshotters from these Battle Groves. Also got these, from this forward line right here, we're going to build a community home, start moving our wood line over here. So right now you're doing really well. You know, you've got 2 wood lines, you've got all these buildings, you've got a good amount of population. You should be close to, definitely past 70 population at this point. Because you want, by 10 minutes, you definitely want to be like over 120 population. Because you're going to have roughly 100 Minutemen and Slingers. Not like 100 each, but like together you'll have around 100 units-ish. And it'll be about 50-50 as far as like the split goes. You can focus more on one or the other, it's completely up to you. But I found that it's easier, just like more convenient to just do like a split between the two. So that's kind of what you want to go for. But you see here, still producing Minutemen constantly. We need to make sure that we don't cap ourselves out, because our population cap is going to be filled up very fast, especially now that we have 2 of these Battle Groves up, as well as all these community homes that we're going to be producing Minutemen from. And we might try to go for our hero soon as well, as you see here. Getting Fado, the Sage of Winds. Really cool character, honestly. I'm a big Wind Waker fan, so Wind Waker is definitely one of my my favorite Zelda games, so I really like Fado. He's a cool character. But you see here, I'm building a bunch of berry bushes right here, because I'm actually starting to send some of these Minutemen on here, because I'm starting to run out of things to like put them on, if that makes sense. You see, we've got so many at this point. Yeah, we got 33. Oh, that's really good. Still building a lot of Slingshotters though, so gotta watch out for that. Definitely want to focus heavily on the Slingshot. This is a very good basic ranged unit. Yeah, you see we got 22 right there. Bringing a lot of these Minutemen over that have kind of finished up on these sand seals, bringing them over to the bushes. But you see here, we've got Fado coming out. Now with Fado, a lot of times what I'll do with Fado actually to help out with my economy is when I have like workers gathering like from all the way over here, I'll actually have him like follow the workers back to the my civic center, so that they don't have so that like they can get there fast, because you see how much faster these units run when they're in his aura. Like they're actually sprinting, which is really nice. But you see, still producing. You see, at this point we're going for the tech, because we are going to need to get a what's it called, Shrine of Courage. Now this is more of the optional part of the build. You can tech a little bit later and focus more on getting more Minutemen and Slingers out, but I like to go for a tech around this point, like 8 or 9 minutes, so that I can try to get a Shrine of Courage out pretty soon to help out my army, because it's got some neat features I'll talk about in a little bit. But you see here, still getting these Slingshotters, more Minutemen, constantly producing them from our I'm sorry, what is it? Completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, Market Grove. What am I saying? But yeah, you see here, I'm using Photo to make sure my workers are like moving between resources really fast. This requires a decent amount of micro, because you just have to, you know, be aware of like where he is and like where he needs to be, and then like making sure all your workers are doing the right thing. So you see, look at all these workers we got on food right here. This is crazy. But you see here, I've capped myself out. You really don't want to do this, because at this point, you're gonna, now that you have all these resources, you're gonna need to start pumping out a lot more units. It's not that big of a deal, because we haven't even hit 10 minutes and we're already over 100 population, which is good. That's what we need to do. Get that Shrine of Courage out. Minutemen are sure to follow, though. You see here, soon when we are assembling our army together to go for an attack on our opponent. This is kind of the same time frame as attacking with the Deku trees. You know, like around 10 minutes-ish. You may want to do it earlier in some matchups, like against, for example, like the Zora, because they're going to be getting Floodmasters pretty soon, or Sapphire Wardens, depending on the matchup. But in this matchup, yeah, they'll usually be going for Floodmasters. So you want to make sure all your Slingers and Minutemen, as you see here, I'm taking them all off resources, dropping off my food. Still producing more, though. You pretty much always want to be constantly producing Minutemen and Slingers from your base and putting them on resources, even like while this army is on the front line. But you see here, around 10 minutes, we've got about, how many is this? Yeah, so like we've got like 45 Minutemen, 42 Slingers. This is about where you want to be, close to or right at 100 units. And you see what I was mentioning earlier about like a even-ish split. I threw one Shrine of Courage in there, and you'll see why. You can throw in a couple more if you choose to go for the Faith and Furore upgrade. It's really good because it like heals nearby units, which is really handy. But yeah, the Faith and Furore upgrade is really, really handy, so make sure you check that out if you're going for this this mini strategy within this grander strategy with Photo. But basically, just the best way to describe this strategy in general is just I guess you could call it a rush. I don't think it's that much of a rush because it's like at the end of the early game. But just mass Minutemen and mass Slingers. Pretty much the same thing as with the Deku trees, except you throw Minutemen in there instead of Deku trees. But so this is why I like to do this little strategy here. So the Shrine of Courage, you see it's got that little statue of the goddess Furore on there, or Feyor, I'm sorry. So what this does is it produces territory around itself. That also becomes an aura that heals units if you get the Faith and Feyor upgrade. But what we're gonna do with this territory that's generating is build some towers. Now this is gonna look really cool. Trust me. I'm just saying this is gonna be pretty cool. We see here we're still producing units back at our base. We pretty much never want to stop producing units. But yeah, so look at this. This is really funny. So we can use the land generated from the Faith of Feyor, or not Faith of Feyor, Shrine of Courage to build a tower. Now, Kokiri towers are very, very strong. They're actually really good. So you see there, I took a bunch of my Minutemen and had them build this tower, while my Slingshotters fended off these Goma. And we can build another one down here too, because of the population, or I'm sorry, not the population, the territory that it's generating. And having a tower in your opponent's base is a very nice thing to have, in my opinion. It's so cool. It's just so cool to see. It just reminds me of a Warcraft 3 tower rush. But you see here, we're keeping Photo in the back. Photo makes this army very, very mobile. Makes them super fast. Look how fast they are. Very fast units with Photo in their army. But you see, we're probably gonna build another tower down here too. Honestly. Yeah, you see here we're getting a third one up because you have so many materials because of the way this build works. You're gonna have like such a surplus of materials that you can definitely afford to build a bunch of towers in your opponent's base. Why not? But pretty much anything your opponent, like any units your opponent's throwing out, are just gonna get sniped off by these towers here. So yeah, so this is pretty much the build, honestly. I hope it made sense to you guys. The summary of what it is basically is just Minutemen and Slingers. Like I've mentioned like 3 times already, this is just a Minutemen and Slingers version of the Deku Tree Rush. Although I do like to throw the towers in there with the statue of, or the Shrine of Courage. It's such a nice, fun little strategy. And then of course, like I mentioned earlier, Fado makes this army very, very mobile. But let's go ahead and pause this. But yeah, so that's pretty much the build. I really hope you guys enjoyed this build. I'll leave a link to the replay in the description so you guys can watch this replay and see kind of what I did if you want to like go over it without listening to my my commentary. But yeah, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I'll leave a link to my Discord in the description below as well. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give me some feedback. Tell me your thoughts on the strategy. If you like it, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.